everybody. Good afternoon, good
Hello.
morning, good evening. How are you guys feeling in that hell heat? Like New Year's countdown? Yeah, almost, isn't it? Hi, everybody. What are we gonna do tonight? We're gonna talk a little bit. Let's see who we have here. Adrian, Craftastic, Geraldine, Good Night Owl, Heidi, Ian, Jock Girl, Catherine, Kiwi, Melina, Penny, Dave, Ant-Man, Truth Seeker, Tumbleweed, Tracy, Mitch, Melina. Hi, everybody. And Mama Knows Best, Miranda, Jock Girl, Angie, Brenda Bella. Welcome, everyone. If you hear some background noise, that's my fan. I can't live without my fan at the moment. So, yeah, just take it. Just take the noise. I'm not going to turn it off. Hi, welcome, Dawn.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Dawn wanted to make a little statement regarding some stuff. So,
Yes, I would like to address a few issues that came to my attention after the last stream. As you know, the YouTube channels are heavily divided on what's case subject, but something is happening each day. I mean, the things got worse, and I would like to explain you something about my decision to join this channel and not other channels. As you know, I don't want any kind of glory. I don't gain something from this my presence in this channel. All I wanted is to add a little value, a little science based on my knowledge and expertise. By saying that, I want to remember to all of you that there are very few channels that have the ability to discuss the what's case from a scientific point of view. I mean, it would be embarrassing to gather a so-called study group and tell them to take their pens and papers and try to understand data. Instead of that, I decided to explain as good as I am able to all the technical things that came to my attention. So, what I would like to address is the following. This channel we're watching now, I consider to be the most informed and the most based on science. As you know, Tanya worked a lot to put some order in the data, and she did a great job. And
I'm
I
no
tried
expert, though.
to. You're not. That
Because
makes things.
Yes, people are always saying, yeah, if you're an expert in this and that. I'm no expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a data analyst. I'm not all these things. All I do is just ask people who know better and Google basically as well if I don't know anything or
Yeah,
certain things about a subject.
true.
But
I mean, it takes. I mean, I admire that you don't pretend that you're an expert. that is a very good thing. And you prefer to ask those that have more knowledge, and it is nothing wrong in that. But it is obviously better to rely on credible data and to explain to people what is really happening from the technical point of view.
Right.
Right. So the main problem I would like to address is that, as many other occasions in the past, after the live stream, an army of, let's say, okay, I will call them leeches, started to feed as usual from the information shared on this channel. Why do I call them leeches? Because
Your audio
they
is breaking up. Or is it on my end? I don't know. You sound robotic.
I didn't change my position at all. I tried to be.
Stay glued to that chair or table or wherever you sit on.
Even my tomcat stopped breathing.
See,
During
good
this.
night. Good night owl agrees with me. You sound a bit muffled.
Now I'm wearing headphones because otherwise some kind of echo is present. Anyway, like I said, the channels in question have the usual habit to take the information on this channel and criticize it heavily, based on, in my opinion, only on envy, hate, and I don't know, intention to create some toxic environment. But they didn't succeed that hard because they are not able to replace or put in place something better than what we provide here. Normally, that would be the right thing to do. I mean, I don't pretend to be God. There are a lot of things that I don't know, or sometimes I may be mistaken. But usually, when somebody is trying to share his opinion or different opinion, should come with something to fill in the blanks or to correct me or us what we did wrong. That does not happened for the simple reason that they are only feeding from the content on this channel. Try to remember when was the last time when they provided some credible information that they didn't have to retract later. From my knowledge, I don't know any such occasion. So, what I would like I would like to ask you to have a critical thinking on everything, including on what we say, what we share. That is the best path to take. We're trying to bring light, to bring hopefully a little justice as much as we can. And if sometimes you feel that we didn't tell you everything, it is there are two reasons for that. One would be one reason I have already addressed. It is about those channels that do their best to destroy what we try to construct here. And the second reason that we have to, let's say, not disclose for the moment everything is that we intend to take some steps with your help to take action towards the suspects, I call them suspects for now, involved in the Watts case. By telling you everything, some of those actions could be jeopardized. It's not that you don't already know what happened in general. We have a main culprit, a main murderer that is in prison. We shared what we think happened to as best as we can, and the rest are only details that, like I said, don't change too much the guilt of the person is involved. When I want you to remember you that the suspects, to me, I prefer to call them suspects because I prefer to be very careful with my wording. I don't consider them guilty. There are other institutions to do that. But there is a lot of information that was gathered in the meantime, and a plan will be put in place, like I said, with your help. I think it is enough said about this case. I prefer, maybe what I will say will sound a little cynical, but I prefer to do justice first, and only when everything is settled and justice was served, I prefer to grieve, not the other way around. So that was my little speech. We have something that you'll find interesting, and Tanya will address that part. I hope you like this live stream, and feel free to ask questions.
Right. And in the end, I have a little surprise for you guys. So make sure you watch till the end. Claudia, can I say this in German real quick? Ich habe deine E-Mail gesehen, aber ich hatte noch keine Zeit, dir zu antworten. Sorry. Aber ich mache das nächste Woche, okay? Yeah, I mean, what can I say to this? It's nothing more. People are saying, there are some people on YouTube or wherever trying to distract, and I do truly believe that too. Then the issue with, I don't even mind someone debunking me or having a different opinion than me. I don't mind that at all. And I think great discussions come from different opinions, right? But to say, like, in a mocking kind of way, or you this, you that, yeah, hurtful things, it's not okay, right? So with that being said, hurtful things, let's go to our topic. Ich mache einen ganzen Kanal in Deutsch, ist in Arbeit. Gotta mix in a little bit because I have so many German speaking people joining my channel at the moment. So I'll be thinking about doing something in German as well. All right, let's get to friggin' topic. We're gonna talk about the DA today. My North Carolina German accent. That's about right. Where was I? DA Rourke. What I'm gonna show you tonight, hopefully, will appear to you like a little story. A developing story, in my opinion. You will see from start to finish what he actually said, how he backpedaled a little bit as well, and how much he lied, right? Me personally, in my personal opinion, not a fact, I think there were different reasons that Chris Watts took that plea agreement. I would not say he was coerced or pushed into taking it. But we get to this. So bear with me 1 second so I can share my screen. I'm gonna turn off my camera. I prepared everything, and then if it comes to showing you, I'm so not organized, but you guys know that from me. So yeah. So what I'm gonna show.
May
Sorry?
I add something? May I add
Yeah.
something? This live stream is not about Rogue's personality. It is has several reasons that we want to share with you what is following.
Right.
One would be that, do you remember that last time we said, in our opinion, there is no way that the authorities of Colorado will do something to change the outcome of the case. So what you will see is further proof to that.
Exactly.
Other than that, I invite you to count the lies of Mr. Roth, and let's see what is the number we come up with.
Right. So what I'm gonna show you first is, where's my screen? Here. What I'm gonna show you first is the first press release right after Chris was arrested, the morning of.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alan Janae, the CBS 4 newsroom. We are watching breaking news this hour on CBSDenver.com. And Christopher Watts, booked into the Weld County Jail this morning, now facing charges for the deaths of his wife and 2 children. That's 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of tampering with evidence. Police have been looking for Shanann Watts and her 2 daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, since they were reported missing on Monday. Police now fear the worst. So we're going to take you live to a news conference starting at the Frederick Courthouse. And this is this morning what's happening there. We're going to get an update now on the case. Let's listen in.
Attorney Michael Rourke.
So here you see again, husband confesses to killings. 10:30 in the morning, August the 16th. He did not confess at that time, right? He confessed that, or his story was that Shanann killed the girls and that's why he killed her.
Colorado Bureau of Investigation Director John Camper. Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent in Charge Calvin Shivers. And thank you all again. To give you some background, the Frederick Police Department received a missing person call just before 2 p.m. on Monday, August 23rd, 2018. Our agency launched an investigation conducting interviews, neighborhood canvasses, in an effort to locate Shanann and her two girls, Bella and Celeste. We also contacted the FBI and the CBI to assist in this case. In addition to providing investigative agents and crime scene responders, a missing endangered alert was announced on Tuesday afternoon. Frederick PD conducted additional canvasses where flyers featuring Shanann, Celeste, and Bella were distributed throughout the community. Finally, in the late hours of Wednesday evening, the husband, Chris Watts, was taken into custody and was transported to the Weld County Jail just after 11:30 p.m. last night. He is currently scheduled for a bond hearing later today. Now, we will take questions later today, later after the interview. However, I would like to turn it over to Chief Norris for a brief statement, please.
Thank you, Dan. I would just like to say our hearts and our prayers go out to the families of this tragedy. I also want to acknowledge the overwhelming support that I have personally received from our community. I truly, truly appreciate that. I also want to say thank you to the local and state and federal agencies that the gentleman behind me that has helped us with this investigation. I will now turn it over to the DA, Michael York. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Michael.
Now listen carefully to what he has to say. Keep in mind, Chris did not confess to killing all three, right? The media already reported. Mrs. Rusak said already to, what's her face? I can't remember her name. The high school friend of Shanann, that you're gonna hear something different on the news, right? Keep all that in mind.
I'm the Weld County District Attorney, and I hope that you all understand this investigation is still ongoing. We are at the very preliminary stages of this investigation, and so as a result of that, we're going to be constrained in the types of questions that we can answer, and I hope that you all understand that at this point. I wanted to address the process and the procedure that's going to occur from this point forward. After the suspect was arrested last night, this case has been formally referred to my office for determination of the appropriate formal charges that will be filed against the suspect. As Sergeant Albert indicated, the suspect has a bond hearing this afternoon at 2:30 in Division 5 at the Weld County Courthouse. Following that, we will be given a deadline by which we need to file formal charges. That will be sometime Monday afternoon, and we will make a determination on charges between now and then. That determination will be based upon the information that we have at this point.
So this will based on the information we have at this point, right? So this is Thursday. Is it Thursday? No, it's Friday, right? The whole weekend, they led people to believe that he confessed to killing all three of them. So now they gotta gather some more information over the weekend to charge him formally on Monday. Keep that in mind also. The whole weekend, people are led to believe, his family is led to believe, everyone is led to believe that he did in fact confess to killing all three.
As a result of the cooperation by the Frederick Police Department, by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I truly want to thank all of those partners for their efforts. I'm going to turn it over to the CBI director for a few comments, and like I said, we will answer questions at the end, but please understand two things. Number one, the suspect at this point is presumed innocent until otherwise proven guilty in a court of law. And number two, I'm constrained ethically and
He's innocent until proven guilty, and that's fine, you know, but he did everything and did not say anything to the media to not put anything out there that's not true yet. They let the media report.
To what I can say, what I can answer at this point. Director?
Hi, I'm John Camper, Director of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. We join with Chief Norris, the Frederick PD, and really the entire town of Frederick in expressing our sorrow for the loss of Shanann Watts, Bella, and Celeste. This is absolutely the worst possible outcome that any of us could imagine. And I think our hearts are broken for the town of Frederick as much as anybody's. As you probably know, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation is primarily a by-request agency, and the Frederick PD did reach out to us. We were honored to assist with both investigative services and forensic resources as well, and that's primarily been our role with that. We've had
Forensic resources. Do you guys, I don't think I have to show it again, but you guys remember my little clip about their forensic team collecting evidence, right? Forensic resources.
We gather
What?
garbage better. We gather our garbage better.
Yeah, and put everything in garbage bags, no gloves on or whatnot.
at least 15 to 20 investigators.
And on top of that, releasing the crime scene before Shanann's body was recovered.
As well as forensic team members active on this case for the last several days. As horrible as this outcome is, our role now is to do everything that we can to determine exactly what occurred and assist in filing a thorough case with the 19th Judicial District. I too don't anticipate being able to answer much in the way of additional questions very thoroughly. Especially in the coming days. We'll probably refer you more to the DA's office in the upcoming days, but we'll do what we can in the meantime. And then I too want to note that the cooperation that occurred and the collaboration that occurred in this case was textbook. The Frederick PD has just been outstanding to work with, an extremely impressive job of investigating this case, along with the resources of the FBI and the collaboration with CBI has been outstanding. And
it's been outstanding what they did. They had not one piece of evidence that tied him to those crimes other than his GPS.
I also might add that the collaboration and cooperation by Anadarko, which, as you know, is somewhat involved in this as well, has also been outstanding. They've been nothing but cooperative in helping us with this investigation as well. So with that, let me turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Mr. Shivers.
Good morning. My name is Calvin Shivers. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the FBI's Denver Division. And I also would like to express my condolences to the families and to the victims of the families for their loss. The FBI supported this investigation from day one. And as Director Camper just mentioned, this was a great example of the law enforcement community coming together. Unfortunately, it was not the outcome that we were looking for. But again, the support of all the state, local, and federal partners is critical to making our community safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelvin. Like I said yesterday, we will not jeopardize any part of this investigation. However, today we will take some questions, but no details will be released that will jeopardize anything. Okay. Sir.
Yeah, Jace Larson with Channel 7 here. Have you been able to recover the bodies?
Oh, please.
At this point, we have been able to recover a body that we're quite certain is Shanann Watt's body. We have strong reason to believe that we know where the bodies of the children are, and recovery efforts are in process on that.
And you mentioned Anadarko. Is it fair to say that these were recovered on Anadarko property?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Has he given you any indication, and we know, and I have reported that you guys have spoken with him, has he given you any indication as to why he might have allegedly committed these crimes?
And that part, Jace, we just can't get into any comments that may or may not have been made by an individual in an interview. That really would jeopardize.
Has he been cooperative with you?
So, and I can't even give you an assessment of that. I apologize.
Do you believe that there could be anyone else involved in this, helping with the bodies, or any indication that there could be additional people or suspects?
We have a lot of people that we still need to talk to. As you can imagine, an investigation like this, it's complex. We talk to anyone and everyone that, no matter how loosely related to this they might be. And so we've got a lot of folks that we need to talk to in terms of I think it's safe to say that in terms of any danger to the community or anything like that, we're not concerned about that at all. And so I'll leave it at that.
You're not concerned about the community. Uh-huh. All right.
What would you say led the case to Mr. Watts? Was it statements by him or the discovery of the bodies?
It would be a totality of the circumstances, a full police investigation. Regarding any more details than that, I will not give out.
Do you know
when they were killed, more or less?
That I do not have at my disposal.
To elaborate a little bit on that, any sense if he killed them all at the same time? Did he kill the kids over the weekend and then get this fight at the end? Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
That would be one of the many details that we are not able to discuss at this time.
So, the reporter lady is asking, do we know any details? Did he kill them all at one time, and so on and so on? And he says, well, we're not able to discuss that at this point in time, right? So why not? If you say you have solid proof evidence to stand there saying that he confessed to killing all three, why not say that at least? Just say, you know, we have his confession, but we now got to work out all the details. Right? To me, in my opinion, this is willingly misleading the public.
As I said before, the case is still ongoing. Investigation is still continuing.
Is there a timeline between when Mr. Watts was arrested and when the body of Shanann was recovered? Can you give us some detail on the timeline?
I don't want to test anything that I'm not either certain about myself or that would jeopardize the case to the matter.
The victim's family on social media said that he confessed to the murders. Can you confirm that?
Again, that would be a detail that I would not be able to disclose at this time.
Can you talk personally about the toll this case has taken on the town of Frederick, on your officers, on the team?
Absolutely. That is a question I can't answer. And it's been earth-shattering. Our small department, 20 plus officers, we've been working on this, and it's something that we've been working with the community, with the command staff, with the town of Frederick themselves, obviously community, you find people, and it's been nonstop. And I don't want to say there's no end in sight, but it's certainly ongoing.
Can you talk about, I know that the family is located on the East Coast, mainly for Shanann, just kind of brief on here and kind of how you guys are working with the family?
Out of respect to the family, I don't want to disclose anything about their personal lives. Thank you, though.
Mr. Work, any idea on when information on this case will be unsealed?
The affidavit in support of warrantless arrest was sealed last night at our request by a district court judge. We did so that we could finish up a few of the investigative steps. My anticipation is that on or about Monday, when we make a filing decision, my hope will be that we can ask the court to unseal that information and make it a public record at that point in time.
And the last person that said that they saw Shanann was Chris. He talked to us. He said he was the last person that saw her at 5 a.m. Is there anybody else that you guys know of that has talked about the last place in time that she was physically seen by somebody other than the suspect?
Again, I think it's safe to say that that's, all part of developing a timeline in a case like this, of many, many people to talk to. And so anything that you hear like that, certainly things that we check into, but then we also try to verify and talk to others and really complete that timeline as best we can.
When Richard got back from a business trip, have you guys worked at the airport at all to get tickets, surveillance, video, anything like that?
Yeah, so again, it'd be one of those details that I just don't want to disclose. Let's take about 2 more questions, guys. Okay.
Shannann's body was found at the property man in Arco, but is there any reason to believe that she was killed elsewhere, just dropped off there?
We can disclose that her body has been located. However, I can't say anything further than that.
Because they didn't know. And do you notice? The media seems to ask the right questions. The media is asking, was there anybody else involved? Do you know any information? Were they killed at the same time? Was she killed at home even? They know more than at this point in time than we ever knew.
can talk about the manner of death. That's something that does get released. Can you share that with us?
Manner of death would be undetermined at this time. We don't want to speculate anything or rule anything out. I think that's enough for today, guys, and I thank you all for coming. Again, I'd like to thank all the agencies in charge that helped us out, and good day to you all. Thank you.
Frederick Police Department there, along with investigators from the state, even the federal government, leaving as they wrap up a news conference. This is really the first information that we've heard officially from authorities in a news conference since this move was made to arrest the husband of Shanann Watts and her two children, Bella, 3, Celeste, 4 years old. All of them believed dead by detectives right now, and they are holding Christopher Watts, 33 years old, in the Weld County Jail as they try to figure out what happened here. This is the mugshot that came out this morning after the arrest was made last night. They say that he did confess. That was conveyed to us by the family of Shanann Watts. Authorities this morning not wanting...
So, the family told the media that he confessed.
Reveal their hand in their investigation, how they found out, what they found out, how they know. But they did say that they have found the body of what they believe is that of Shanann Watts. They say they do believe they know where the children are. Recovery efforts are in progress, but they did not share in that news conference there where the body of the mother was found, nor where they believe the bodies of the children may be. An incredible tragedy in this lovely home in Frederick, and they have these beautiful pictures that we've seen of the family. We're looking at some of the video.
Look at the backs.
Being removed from that home, and we've seen that over the past couple of days here. Authorities working inside that home, and it was yesterday, apparently, when this break came through. And the information that just really is shocking all of Colorado right now. This mother and two beautiful children apparently killed at the hands of the husband. Now, there are no...
Everything supervised by Officer Lyons.
How that works, because there's been...
Sorry?
And everything was supervised by Officer Lyons.
Yeah, she actually filed a report on that. Like she put a report in Discovery that she supervised. Without her phone in her hand? Or did she have her phone? Without her phone, she's only half a person, I feel.
Yes.
Some mistakes in reporting that I've seen around some news stations this morning. He's not charged yet. You're not charged until you go to court and those charges are brought against you, but you can be arrested in suspicion of. And so he is currently in jail, 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of tampering with evidence are potentially what Christopher Watts will face. There will be a bond hearing this afternoon. That will occur at 2:30. And then the district attorney, Rourke, as you said, has until probably Monday, the date will be set by the court this afternoon, until Monday to make a decision on charging. So that's what we will see. So wrapping up this news conference, we now do know, we have confirmed, of course, the worst of it from authorities today with this announcement of the arrest of Christopher Watts. And they do.
All right. So the family told media that he confessed to killing all 3. That was new to me. I did not hear that before, ever. All right. We have 2 beautiful people watching with us. Ronnie and Cindy Watts are watching. And Cindy asked me to read out the messages she just sent me during that media report. Oh my God, DA Rourke wouldn't speak to us. Our attorney said we will hold up the sentencing unless someone speaks to us. We finally spoke to the assistant DA at 9 p.m. We were so lost. They knew NK was involved, but we didn't. The assistant prosecutor told us nothing. Ronnie kept asking, "What evidence do you have?" They said they had a theory. On our minds, we just didn't know what to do. I tried so hard to stop the plea deal. I wrote a letter to Chris and he received it after he was sentenced. I wrote it right after his plea deal, certified mail. They didn't give it to him. His defense wouldn't let us talk to him, only on the TV monitor that one time, and then not asking him any real questions. So this is what Cindy is saying, also when what I said before, when Ronnie was let out the police station, and he was under he just heard his son saying she killed the girls, and then I heard her, or killed her, I strangled her, or whatever he said. So Ronnie was under the impression that this is his confession and it's true, right? So he was let out, was led to some hotel room, and this man sitting in a hotel room and finding out on the news that everything he just heard from his son wasn't true, and the media reporting on that Chris confessed to killing all three. Can you ever imagine how he must have felt in that very moment? It's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable and shocking. And
So
they
we're
did
talking,
nothing. The
sorry,
media nor law enforcement did anything to clear that up, that situation, right? So me personally, I find that's disgusting. It's just disgusting. Sorry, Don, I interrupted you.
we are talking about, they said that the family knew he confessed killing them all. So we're not talking about the Watts family. We are talking about the other family.
Yes.
They knew better. They had more information. That is, let's say, just odd.
I just find it totally shocking. I never knew that. And Lauren Arnold, I mean, the media says they told them basically. So, and Lauren Arnold says something similar, right? She says,
The prosecution established a fake narrative with the other family that they wanted to get to in the end. But
right.
it was not based on the facts at that time.
Exactly. But they did nothing to clear that up either. Right? They could have said, no, that's not true, what you hear on the media, because we formally charge him on Monday when we gather all the evidence. They weren't even recovered yet.
Okay, so just an idea came to my mind. Do we have to assume that the other family knew exactly what happened? Where from? How come?
Maybe from Aurora. I
Let's
believe,
hope so.
when I remember correctly, and I could be wrong here, I'm not sure. Lauren Arnold said in her interview in September that she got the call from the family at around 6 p.m. And please, if anyone knows, let me know if that's true or if that's right. I can't remember exactly, so please don't take that as a fact. But she said it's 6 p.m. And she said he confessed. He's charged with murder. And he confessed to knowing where they were. On the news, you'll hear a different story. These were her exact words, I believe. if I remember correctly. I don't want to pull that up because then I once fell asleep on a live stream listening to Sentner and Lauren Arnold. It's like draining. But this is, you guys can go back and just search YouTube for her interview. It's on multiple channels all over there. I don't want to pull it up again. But yeah, there you see, you know, horrible. And I have a slight delay on Messenger again, just letting you know. All right.
I would like still to emphasize something. So Rourke didn't know at that time that what's killed everybody. And
No.
okay, so to me it looks that the other family corrected Rourke. How come? Where did they know what the real scenario or the real timeline was? That is quite suspect. Indirectly,
I'm just trying to think this through in my head, what could have happened. So, I mean, they were found obviously deceased. So they obviously call the family. They tell them, according to the discovery reports, that I'm sorry, they are found deceased, right?
right, and that Watts confessed killing Shanann after she killed the girls.
No, hang on a minute. They weren't even recovered yet. So what law enforcement or the DA probably told the family was that he, at this minute, confessed to knowing where they were. And he did. Because he marked that photo of Survey with S, B, and C. And this was basically all he said, other than, you know, Shanann is responsible for the death of the girls.
Okay, then that's more proof that NK testified what she said she did.
Yeah.
So that would have been the only possibility that Rourke knew what was the real deal.
Right. But without any evidence? You heard in that media statement, they were just in the process to recover the bodies. What if it would have been turned out they were shot or stabbed?
That would have been a total embarrassment.
Or I don't know, or a letter is pinned to their bodies or whatnot. You know, all these kind of weird things happen. But they made a statement before they even knew. So that's really, we have to investigate this. I already said I'm not going to investigate anything and do only informative stuff, but this is interesting. Very interesting.
There is no other way of knowing where they were or where the victims were. No forensic evidence. What is left? Somebody?
That's what I said, you know? I mean, they did not, other than they accused him basically, or they thought they know he did this without any evidence other than his GPS. So this is more proof that somebody spoke up and ratted him out, in my opinion.
Right. It's logic.
Yeah, absolutely logic. All right. What I'm going to share with you as well, I'm going to share my screen, is this. So I thought we're not going to put up the whole first court appearance, and I just give you a little overview on what happened in that first bond hearing, let's say, right? So Chris Watts' first court appearance, August the 16th. It was discussed the possibility to be released on bond, which was rejected. The autopsy was discussed, who is going to be present, what time, what date, and the samples request, and the charges were discussed. And as you know, we have a long list of Frederick Police Department and CBI and FBI and whatnot who were present at the autopsy. If you want to look at the list, it's still in the discovery, and I think there 15 or 20 people attended all the autopsies. In my opinion, that's kind of unusual. But all right. Not his defense, though. His defense did not get the chance to attend the autopsy. They were able to file motions for these samples or DNA traces of their necks as he requested, but other than that, they were not allowed or not able to attend the autopsy. Then, after that, they performed the autopsy without presence of Chris's attorneys, and DNA swabs were taken from their necks as requested. On August 16th through August the 26th, attorneys visit Chris in county jail. I'm not sure if Rourke visited him at all. Something was out there, but I have no fact or evidence to support that he ever visited Chris in jail. He was put in solitary confinement. Obviously, he was not allowed to speak to his family, as we just heard from Cindy. They did not forward any letters. Nothing. Also, and Cindy, if you're listening, what I just noticed, you guys know that they put all the letters Chris received in jail, like from women and friends and stuff. They put all these letters in the discovery. Why didn't they put Cindy's letter in the discovery? Every single letter was in there. Cindy's wasn't. Why wouldn't they put it in the discovery? Because Cindy did not want him to take this plea deal without a fight or an explanation. Maybe they didn't put it in there because of exactly selective evidence. So they gave the letter from Cindy to Chris after the fact, which is kind of scandal to me. All right, then on August the 26th, Chris Watts' attorneys offer a guilty plea or plea agreement to the DA in exchange for sparing him the death penalty. And this is a little screenshot you can still see on a certain documentary on TV. As you can see, August the 26th at 11:58, his defense writes an email to the DA saying the defendant, Christopher Watts, is willing to agree to waive his right to be indicted and to plead guilty to all charges of first-degree murder charges if our office is willing to remove the possibility of the death penalty. Best or regards, or what it says, John Walsh. August the 26th, 11:56. So, as we know, he was put in solitary confinement. I have his visitors list somewhere in my files, but I wasn't able to find it that quickly. So I can post it on my community tab if you guys want to see it. So his attorneys, defense attorneys, visited him in jail on a regular basis. On the 26th, So 10 days after that bond hearing, they visit him. He was put in solitary confinement. He does not get any letters from his parents, no phone calls, no nothing. And then on the 26th, when they already broke him, his attorney offer a plea agreement. So far, so shitty.
One short observation, please.
Sorry?
One short observation. You might think that, or maybe part of you might think that we are trying to excuse Chris Watts by explaining these things, but that is far from the truth. We are only criticizing the judicial system.
Right. No, I mean, obviously, and like I said many times before, you know, he did not do anything. If he did not do this, he did not do anything to avoid the situation. So, you know, that's just my God's honest opinion. Yeah. Yes, Sarah, they were about to abolish the death penalty, and we're getting to this because I found something interesting too. Okay, we're gonna get to the second little video prepared for you guys, which is the sentencing hearing. I'm not gonna play everything. I'm not gonna play the victims' impact statements and all that stuff. I'm just interested in what Rourke says, because you know, the impact statements, they always weigh heavy on me, to be honest. All right, let's do this. Share my screen.
So let's count the lies.
Sorry?
So let's count the lies.
Let's count the lies. Yeah, shall we? Let's go. Oh, the elite of this case. Probably came with NK in the car. Oh, and by the way, everything I say is my personal opinion. Okay, you don't have to agree with me, and you know, you may find it a little bit rude at times what I say, but I just gotta be honest, and this is how I feel.
Governor John Walsh and Catherine Harold on behalf of Mr. Watts.
Thank you. Mr. Rourke, did you want to make a record?
So this is John Walsh, the guy who sent the email. You know, the client wants to plead guilty.
Regarding compliance with the Victims' Rights Act?
Your Honor, present in the courtroom are Frank Rusick, Sandy Rusick, and Frank Rusick Jr. They are Shanann's mom, dad, and brother. They have been fully advised of the nature of the proceedings today. Also, based upon the order that the court entered last week, I can tell the court that Mr. and Cindy Watts are present in the courtroom as well. They've also had opportunity to meet with representatives from my office over the weekend to discuss the nature of the hearing today. I believe that we are fully in compliance with the Victims' Rights Act.
Thank you.
Lie. As we just heard from Cindy, DA Rourke wouldn't speak to us. Our attorney said we will hold up the sentencing unless someone speaks to us. We finally spoke to an assistant DA at 9 p.m. We were lost. We didn't know what to do. They had a theory.
So what I would like to do is explain the procedures that we're going to use regarding the sentencing hearing. Let me first say that I realize that the sentencing hearing is emotional for many of us. And I expect that your behavior in the courtroom, both in this courtroom and the overflow courtroom, is appropriate. If the court determines that your demeanor and behavior while in the courtroom during the hearing is not appropriate, I have advised the deputies that I will be asking you to be escorted out of the courtroom. So please be mindful of your demeanor during the sentencing hearing. Also, as a reminder, all electronic devices must be turned off. The only electronic devices that I have authorized to be used are those through the expanded media coverage order. If deputies see...
Okay, Dave just asked me to read out a message he just got. From Cindy as well. Dave, all the 2 screenshots you just sent me, or just a particular message? Both of them in its entirety? I don't want to... Waiting for Dave's response real quick before we continue. Hello, I don't want to make any mistakes, so please tell me which part or everything of the message. Okay. Cindy's saying, I saw a document about them being brought out in trash bags. That's exactly what they said in sentencing. Why won't they let us see what they claim happened? We've been left out of everything. This is what Cindy just said. So they too said they saw a document about them being brought out in trash bags. Do you guys remember when the family stated, or Junior, I believe he stated that? He said, my family was brought out in trash bags and that footage is too morbid or too cruel, or what he said. I cannot give 100% the correct words he phrased it, but he said, yes. Frank Sr. said it, right, Leah? And I believe Frankie also did make a statement that he saw them being taken out like trash. And Frank, Mr. Rusek, said that at the sentencing hearing as well. So now, Cindy says the same thing basically, right? To just say that real quick, I do not believe, and this here again is my personal opinion, right? I'm not bashing anyone, I'm not dragging anyone, I'm not, just my personal opinion, and I am entitled to it. So, if there was a video, as family claims there was, too cruel to show in public, that he took the kids and the bodies out in trash bags, how comes they were so surprised about the girls, or at least one of the girls, being seen on video of that morning being picked up by him, aka the shadow, right? If they had seen such footage, they should have known that at least one of the girls were alive, if you believe in the shadow theory. Okay? Me personally, I do not believe, and I'm gonna get attacked for that, I know that, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I do not believe that whatever Chris picked up was a shadow. You don't see a head, you don't see arms, you see nothing but a long shadow coming from somewhere, okay? Me personally, I say it again, I do not believe, you can believe whatever you want with the investigation you do on your own. Me personally, after what I've learned and seen and investigated for myself, I do not believe that this shadow was a child. Okay? So, now, if they had seen such a video, I do not believe that law enforcement ever, when they got the tip off from Bam and her friend, the FBI, that there is a shadow seen on footage, what they believed to be a shadow. I do not believe that anyone of law enforcement or a technical forensics technician or whatnot ever reviewed that footage again. I do not believe that, and here's why. Seeing those shadows or one shadow would play along the narrative, right? They wanted to vindicate Shanann, obviously, right? And that would make any plea agreement or any, no, not plea agreement, but any agreement they had valid. Why? Because for the simple fact that if one of the girls at least was alive, they were able to pin everything on Chris. He did all this alone. So, again, I do not believe that any one of law enforcement, unless I see proper evidence that they did, such as a report or, a conclusion or a 3D reenactment or whatnot, I do not believe any of these forensic people ever looked at this footage again. They were probably saying, oh, wow, that does fit our narrative. So nobody will ever, ever, ever ask questions again. Because if we go with that shadow theory, they will believe that he acted all alone. And that is the reason we have the right man. Nobody else is involved. We have the right man. We saw it on video because he picked up a child. Right? So, with all the effort and good intentions people had investigating this case, looking closely at the footage and zooming in, enhancing all that stuff, they actually do not realize, in my opinion, that this only played into the hands of law enforcement to keep up with the narrative. Right? So, rant over, my opinion. This is what I wanted to say. So, for me, this is no shadow of a child.
That you are using an electronic device not authorized by the court, the deputies will take action on that. So please be mindful of that. If you need to turn off your electronic devices, please do so now. So these are the procedures that we are going to use for the sentencing hearing. First, the prosecution will have an opportunity to present evidence. Once the prosecution finishes, the defense will have an opportunity to present evidence. Then, if there are any victims under the...
Did you hear what Judge Kopkow just said? They have the chance to present evidence. Now let's see what kind of evidence they present.
Victims' Rights Act, including Cindy and Ronnie Watts, that have not been called by the prosecution or the defense or any other defined victims under the Victims' Rights Act, they will have an opportunity to make a statement to the court as it relates to their rights under the Victims' Rights Act. Thereafter, the prosecution will have an opportunity to argue. The defense will have an opportunity to make an argument. If Mr. Watts chooses to, he will have an opportunity to make a statement, and then the court will impose a sentence in this case. Does everybody understand? Okay. And so, Mr. Rourke, are you going to be speaking on behalf of the prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
And you are welcome to present evidence.
Thank you. Your Honor, if I may approach, on my tender to the court would have been marked as sentencing exhibits 1 through 21 inclusive. I have provided copies of these to defense counsel.
Thank you.
Now listen closely and carefully to what he puts forward.
Your Honor, photographs 1 through 21, sentencing exhibits 1 through 21 represent a number of different photographs that are in discovery that Shanann's mother and father wanted the court to have for your consideration as you impose sentence today. They may allude to those, and I've asked them to do so by way of sentencing exhibit number, but that's the sum and substance of exhibits 1 through 21.
Thank you. And you have individuals who would like to make a statement?
I do. Your Honor, if I could first call upon Frank Rusick to join me at the podium.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Rusick.
Good morning.
I'm sorry, you guys, but it upsets me and I cannot listen to it. Sorry. Gonna forward this. It's just still heartbreaking. And I don't want to watch it. I'm sorry. If you guys want to watch the sentencing, just, search Google or on YouTube. Like every creator has it on uploaded anyways. So.
Mr. Walsh, would you like to present any evidence? We have no evidence, Your Honor.
Would you like to present any evidence? No, he doesn't want to.
Mr. Walker, is there any...
Sits back down. Did you see that? No, he doesn't want to present any evidence. Why not? Sits back down.
Statements you would like to make on behalf of the prosecution?
Yes, please. Your Honor, there are no words to adequately describe the unimaginable tragedy that brings us before this court today. By my comments, I'm not even going to try to express the horror, the pain, or the suffering that the defendant has caused to these families, to this community, and to all who were a part of this investigation. However, I do want to spend a few minutes sharing with the court the details of the crime, as so far you've only had an opportunity to review the affidavit and a few facts here and there that have been offered to the court in the motions and pleadings that have been filed. The questions that have screamed out to anyone who will listen since August 13th of 2018 are why and how? Why did this have to happen? How could a seemingly normal husband and father annihilate his entire family? For what? These are the questions that only one individual in this courtroom or on this planet knows the answers to. I fully expect we will not receive the answers to these questions today, nor will we.
Well, you already have the answers to these questions, so come on and present your evidence.
Point in the future. I don't expect that he will ever tell the truth about what truly happened or why. Even if he did, there is no rational way that any human being could find those answers acceptable responses to such horrific questions. The best we can do is try to piece together some kind of understanding
from the evidence that is available to us. And the evidence tells us this: the defendant coldly and deliberately ended 4 lives, not in a fit of rage.
Okay, I want to see the evidence that suggests that.
Not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. Shanann was 34 years old. She had married the defendant in November of 2012. Over the weekend leading up to August 13th, she had been at a work conference in Phoenix, Arizona, and returned home in the early morning hours of August 13th. We know that she got home about 1:45 in the morning. The doorbell camera on their home shows her arriving back home from the airport. Shortly thereafter, at least according to the defendant, they had what he referred to as an emotional conversation about the state of their marriage and about what their lives would look like going forward. What was said during that emotional conversation, only he knows. What we do know is that shortly after that, the defendant strangled her to death with his own hands.
Oh, really? Where's the evidence of that?
We know that he slowly took her life the morning of August 13th. We know that this was not done in an uncontrolled, vengeful manner that he tried to describe to agents from CBI and the FBI. If that were the case, you would expect to see vicious, horrible bruising about her neck, shoulders, and face. You would expect to see the hyoid bone in her neck broken. You would expect to see some kind of defensive wounds on his body as she struggled and fought for her own life. None of those are present. The only injuries that were on Shanann's body were one set of finger or bruising, what appeared to be fingernail or finger mark bruising to the right side of her neck. We know that our experts will tell us that it takes 2 to 4 minutes to strangle someone to death manually with their own hands. The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable. Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought as their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters.
Hang on a minute. Strangulation of Shanann, as Dawn found in the written report of the autopsy, it says probable cause of death. Strangulation, right? Probable.
He's contradicting himself.
Why?
Sorry?
He is contradicting himself. He said
He's
that.
contradicting himself throughout, because
Yes,
now
he
we
said
see.
that.
Sorry, you go.
Yes, he was expecting to find a hyoid bone to be broken, but they didn't. Yet they concluded it is a strangulation. And they even know how much time it takes to end somebody's life through strangulation. So it's like he's throwing facts here and there, like he said about the report he sent to Judge Kapkal. He put some facts here and there. It doesn't matter the rest. We are sprinkling the report with a few facts. The rest is not important.
Oh, Frankie wrote, my family was stacked in the backseat. In this specific video, they edited out where you can see him carrying them out. Too morbid for viewers. See, so if they had seen this, like I stated before in my long rant, they would have seen that it's not true that the kids were already dead, right? So they ran along with that shadow of things.
That is another lie, because they asked specifically for footage, for Nate's footage, around sometimes for some
3 timestamps.
yes, timestamps, right. And Nate gave them exactly like they foolishly waited for. They should have asked for the whole lot, but they had no idea about that. Anyway, so the footage provided by the Discovery is not tampered with. Where is that footage that was cut because it is too morbid?
Exactly.
I didn't see anything cut from that movie, and trust me, I know exactly what I'm saying. It would be obvious when if only a fraction of a second would be cut. If you remember, I showed you at one time processed video with some red dots
Yeah,
scrolling on the screen. That
right. We all saw that,
that
yeah.
yes, that if there is something that is jumping suddenly, like a line or a dot suddenly jumping from one part to the other, that would mean it is something was cut from that portion, and there isn't any.
Exactly.
So, Junior's opinion, in my own understanding, is a lot.
Yeah, because they were going with what the DA had told them, right? So the DA probably told them there is a video, he's taking them out like trash in trash bags and stuff, and he sees that on video, and this is his only evidence. No, I don't believe there was such a video, and I don't believe either that. So they didn't do such a thorough, good investigation, because if they had, somebody would have actually looked at the footage in the first place of Nate's, but they didn't. They didn't.
So
I bet you any money they did not look into anything. They had nothing.
anything about the footage counted as a big lie.
Right. Oh, there. Rose Red tells us everything. Frankie wrote after that, but there is another video that's out. You can see him carrying them. The last body was my sister. That's horrific. It's horrible. You know, and everyone who reads that is like, oh my God, what did this family see? This is
Another
absolutely horrific and unforgettable. Seeing someone taking your family out like trash in bags must have been absolutely horrible. So I'm asking, why are they going with the friggin' shadow theory then?
and I still insist, what another video that's out? That is an invention. There is no another video.
Right. But let's say for a minute that video exists. Why would they put out, oh, he picked a child up? Right? Makes no sense at all. Yeah, they have the right to see the footage. I mean, if they want to, that's another thing, if that's so morbid. But absolutely. All they got from the DA was, oh, we had a theory. So why didn't you tell the Watts family that you saw their son physically carrying them out like trash in trash bags? Right? Of course not, Daisy. Of course he wasn't in a solid state of mind. They put him in solitary confinement with people shouting at him to commit, I can't say the word on YouTube, but you know what I mean, right? And tell him ways to do it and stuff. So, all right, let's keep going with that.
Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her. Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all.
So, again, I'm sorry to always interrupt, but if he did all this and her injuries came from smothering and, you know, the blanket rubbing against and she wiggling her head back and forth. First of all, do you really think a 4-year-old girl is strong enough to wiggle her head back and forth if a grown man holds her in a position where she can absolutely do not defend herself at all? She wasn't strong enough to cause those injuries. Second of all, the blankets he said he smothered them with were found on body cam in the house, right? On the 13th in the morning when Coonrod goes into the bedroom, and we all see that on body cam next to the TV in that little corner where those little sofa beds are for the girls. And then third of all, how comes if with an injury like that, and I gotta tell you a little something about my private thing. When I got braces, they cut off that little, what is it called? That little skin that holds your gum. Frenulum, right. They cut that off because one tooth of mine was sticking in my nose and it wouldn't come out. So I got braces to fix that, right? It's bleeding like crazy. So how comes there was no blood, nothing in his truck? If he did that in his truck, it's no way. No way. And I only can tell you this because I had that done on myself when I was like 12, 13 years old. They did that. So it's bleeding like crazy.
But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless. The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera, backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house.
Which he always did. Do you remember, you guys, when he said, you know, they had burglaries from April and some tools were stolen out of his work truck? And Nate told him, park in front of my driveway. I have a camera so I can have a look and keep an eye on it, right? And he did that. So what he states also in his I can't remember if it was in his Wisconsin confession or if it was in his interrogation. He says, due to the burglaries happen in the neighborhood, I always backed my truck up every Friday to unload my tools and every Monday to load them back up. So this was nothing unusual. And I don't understand why all of Shanann's friends, who did live there or did not live there, said he never backed his truck up. And Nate even states he never backs his truck up. The family states he never backs his truck up. And because they saw him doing so, they knew something was up. So if we had footage of Nate's from previous days where he went to work on a Friday or a Monday, we would easily see if that is a lie Chris told us or if that's actually true. that every Friday and Monday he did the same routine?
Back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed.
Mitch, I gotta tell you something. I see that because people said that, right? Bella's room was right above the garage. Yes, but TJ, CW never used the garage loading his car because the garage door would make so much noise and wake the girls. All right. First of all, the girls were given, how can I put that without being attacked? I say helpers to sleep. Okay? That's the first thing. Second of all, when you read the discovery, on that Friday, Shanann left for Arizona. She states, she texts him saying that she was speaking to Bella in the morning while Chris was still asleep. And she told her that Nikki, NA, is going to pick her up, but she will be coming home very soon and they're going to see each other again. Right? So, I don't think that it was such of an issue that the girls were awake, running around the house while Chris was still asleep, or Shanann was still asleep, or they both were still asleep. So therefore, the statement of, oh, it would have waken her up is kind of weird to me, right? It's kind of weird because what difference makes that? The front door was locked at all times. And it doesn't matter if the kids wake up or not, because Bella was already up at this one occasion. And Chris still slept and Bella was up because Shanann spoke to her. But that just as a little side comment.
In one final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In one final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations. He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his coworkers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media, asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends, and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks. Or the coroner employees who had to conduct these autopsies. Or the victim assistants who frantically attempted to.
Can I say something real quick? I don't know what it is, but I feel so heartbroken for Shanann's dad. I truly do. I don't know why that is. Obviously, I know why that is, but it's different. If I can just state my honest opinion here, you know, between us, I feel different for mom and son somehow, if that makes sense. I don't know why, and I can't explain it, but I do feel so sorry, and it breaks my heart when I see this man. It really, truly does.
The suffering of those affected. All of this, Your Honor, for what? Why? Why did this have to happen? His motive was simple, Your Honor. He had a desire for a fresh start, to begin a relationship with a new love that overpowered all decency and feelings for his wife, his daughters, and unborn son. While Shanann texted the defendant over and over again in the days and weeks leading up to her death, attempting to save her marriage, the defendant secreted pictures of his girlfriend into his phone and texted her at all hours of the night. While Shanann sent the defendant self-help and relationship counseling books, one of which, ironically enough, was thrown in the garbage, he was searching the internet for secluded vacation spots to take his new love in researching jewelry. And while Shanann took the girls to visit family in North Carolina, the defendant went to car museums and the sand dunes with his new girlfriend. The stark contrast between the subjects of their internet and text content is absolutely stunning. Even the morning after he killed them and disposed of their bodies, he made several phone calls. One was to the school where the girls were supposed to start, telling the school that the girls would not be coming to school anymore, that they were being unenrolled, presumably to give him some more time before law enforcement notification about them going missing. He contacted a realtor to start discussing the selling of his house, and he texted with his girlfriend about their future.
Hang on a minute. Discussing the selling of his house. They discussed that way earlier. Even when Shanann texted the realtor and Meadows, she discussed that with her as well. So this was nothing unusual. They both agreed on selling the house. Shanann was under the impression that Chris wanted to move to Brighton. So this is not something that only came from him. They discussed that both.
None of this answers the questions of why, however. If he was this happy and wanted a new start, get a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage. Why did Nico, Celeste, Bella, and Shanann have to lose their lives in order for him to get what he wanted? Your Honor, justice demands the maximum sentence under the agreement reached by the parties. As you will recall, the agreement calls for life sentences as to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and all of those to run consecutively to one another. It also calls for the count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy as to Nico to run consecutively to counts 1, 2, and 3. I would suggest that the extreme aggravation present in the defendant's conduct And in his the efforts that I have described mandate that the sentences for counts 7, 8, and 9, the tampering with the deceased human body, each be the maximum of 12 years, and that those sentences run consecutively to one another. It is very clear that each of these acts, that these were not the subject of one act, but each oil tank that he walked up with his daughter's bodies and the hole that he dug for his wife and unborn son mandate a mandatory consecutive sentence. It's been alluded to this morning, but the defendant was certainly eligible for the death penalty in this case under the existing law in the state of Colorado.
Listen closely. He says now, well, he is definitely eligible for the death penalty because here in Colorado, we still have the death penalty, right? Keep that in mind when I show you a different video in a few minutes.
As you heard, Shanann's family strongly opposed my office seeking the death penalty and being bound to the criminal justice system for the next several decades. That's in large part, as you've heard, why we have reached the agreement that we have. 4 lives were lost at the hands of the defendant on August 13th for reasons that we will never.
So he's saying this is why we reached the agreement that we have, right? So the death penalty was always something to pressure Chris because obviously he was scared shitless.
Fully understand, nor will we know. In the end, the Rusick family was much more merciful towards him than he was towards his wife, his daughters, and his unborn son. Prison for the remainder of his life is exactly where he belongs for murdering his entire family. Thank you.
Are you seeking 91 days to file a request for restitution?
I am, Your Honor, please.
See, truth seeker last name, why are all the records sealed for 90 years and evidence destroyed? Well, question that why. Why would they destroy evidence? In no case is evidence destroyed in case there is new evidence or new witnesses or whatnot, and something comes up so they can exonerate a possible innocent person, right? Not in this case. In this case, he signs to agree that, well, it comes with the plea agreement, actually. He signs that DNA evidence may be destroyed. Why? To not find new evidence and to reopen this case, if necessary? Really, really fishy. All right, I don't want to bother you anymore. We heard what he said. And I'm going to go right into the next one, which is the third. Just bear with me 1 second. I thought I have everything in order, but I don't, as usual. Oh, I might have just switched the numbers. Sentencing we had. All right. So after the sentencing, oh my goodness. After the sentencing, they gave a little press conference, right? And I'm going to show you this, what he says to the media, our friend, Mr. Rourke. It all comes somehow together, all these lies and all these, just watch it.
Ready? Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who were not present in the courtroom today, I want to take a minute to summarize the nature of the proceedings at our status conference on People versus Christopher Watts this afternoon.
I let it just run through. I'll be back in 1 second.
Mr. Watts entered a plea of guilty to all 9 counts in the original complaint and information. Those counts include murder in the first degree after deliberation as to Shanann Watts, murder in the first degree as to Bella Watts, murder in the first degree as to Celeste Watts, unlawful termination of a pregnancy as it relates to Nico Watts, and 3 counts of unlawful tampering with a deceased human body. There was a sentencing agreement that calls for the defendant to be sentenced to the Department of Corrections for the remainder of his natural life as to counts 1, 2, and 3. All of those sentences will run consecutively to one another. There's also an agreement that whatever sentence the court imposes as to count 6 will also run consecutively to counts 1 through 3. The remainder of the sentencing will be left to the discretion of the court. That sentencing will occur November 19th at 10 o'clock in the morning. The final piece of the sentencing agreement calls for the district attorney's office, myself, to agree that as a result of his plea of guilty, that he will not face the death penalty. I know that there are going to be a lot of questions about that, so let me address that right up front. Present here in the room with us today is Frank Rusick, Sandra Rusick, and Frank Rusick Jr., Shanann's brother, mom and dad. Mr. Wren and I flew out to North Carolina about 3 weeks ago and spent quite a bit of time with the Rusick family talking about the state of the death penalty in Colorado, the realities of the death penalty. We explained to them the extraordinary delays that currently exist in the state of Colorado as the result of, in part, the actions of our current governor. We discussed the fact that an individual by the name of Nathan Dunlap was convicted and sentenced to death in 1996 and is still alive today. We discussed all of the possible consequences, delays, penalties, timeframes, and I hope I'm saying this accurately. I know they'll correct me if I am wrong, but they were very strongly in favor of a resolution in this case, short of the death penalty. That to me.
So he flew out there to see the family and discuss whether or not to go through with the death penalty. Now, with death penalty cases, you have to have some sort of evidence, right? Even though many people are exonerated after many decades, it happens in case there is new evidence, right? But in this case, obviously they destroyed evidence, so that's not going to happen. But they have to have some sort of evidence to even, convince a jury to recommend the death penalty for somebody. So he's going on and on and on and on about the death penalty, knowing that there was already a bill coming through that they are going to abolish the death penalty. So Chris obviously did not know that, right? I don't know if the family, Rusick family, was aware of that. And he quite possibly, I'm not saying that he did not ask them, how to proceed, because the family gets hurt in most cases. But in the end, they wouldn't care, right? And I bet you any money that this guy would have went for the death penalty if he had enough evidence, which there wasn't. So what did he need? Something to pressure Chris Watts. We're going to put you to death if you don't do this or that.
Yes, you will hear that he is in favor of death penalty.
However,
oh, sorry, I did not hear what you were saying, Don.
You will hear later that Rourke is in very in favor of death penalty. And something else, the Rusick family needed him alive to agree to everything they wanted from him.
Right. Correct.
As they know, after we had those meetings at their home in North Carolina, I came back and had meetings with all of the law enforcement partners you see standing up here today, with the supervisors in my office, in consultation with other district attorneys around the state, and to a person.
So he probably told them during their visit, or during his visit at the family's home, that he confessed to everything, and they took the girls and Shanann, or he took the girls and Shanann out like trash, right?
Right.
This must have came from him.
There is no other way, and he knew from anything.
Right.
The advice and suggestions that I was given,
the advice and suggestions he was given, he received bombshell information, right?
You do what the victim's family wants you to do in this case. I don't know how I could have sat in Sandy's kitchen and asked her to commit the next 25 years of her life to the criminal justice system without any assurances that that sentence, if ever imposed, or excuse me, if ever obtained, would ever actually be imposed. I want to take an opportunity to thank the law enforcement partners who are standing up here and those who are not up here. This investigation, this prosecution was exactly what local, state, and federal cooperation should look like. The Frederick Police Department, the Greeley Police Department, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, all worked in conjunction, with one another to present to our office a case that could give this resolution and hopefully disclosure to Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico's family. Understand that this is not over. As I said, we have a sentencing hearing in a couple of weeks. I'm going to give Director John Camper from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation an opportunity to say a few words here in a couple of minutes. But understand that at this point, I still can't answer questions about the facts surrounding the investigation because at least at this point, the judge has not formally accepted those guilty pleas and imposed sentence.
Yeah, you didn't give the judge anything to work with in the first place.
After that sentencing hearing, we'll have an opportunity to answer the questions that I know many in the media, many in the public have had from the day this investigation started. But before we answer any questions, I want to invite up Director John Camper.
Thanks, Mr. Wolf. I think it goes without saying when something so horrible happens, it's really not possible to be particularly celebratory. But that said, I think all of us are gratified at the outcome here, primarily for Shanann's family, but also the many investigators and other professionals, as Mr. Rourke said, some who are represented here and many who are not, who have devoted so much time, energy, and frankly, emotion into this tragic case. Really all everyone wanted throughout was justice for Shanann and Bella and Celeste, and we're certainly pleased that this seems to be the outcome. So on behalf of the CBI and I think the other organizations and many who were involved in this, our deepest condolences to the Ruziks and their family and friends. Thank you.
I'll be happy to answer questions, but I will be the first to tell you that I truly appreciate the Ruziks being present, not only in the state of Colorado, but in this room. I can tell you on behalf of them, they are not prepared.
You are not concerned about the Ruzik family being in the room. You're concerned about that questions may be asked by news reporters that you cannot answer. This is the main concern he has.
And his re-election.
Sorry?
And his re-election.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Or do they want to answer questions at this point? And I hope you all will respect that. I will try to answer questions as best I can on their behalf, at least today. So what questions can I answer for you all?
Could the death penalty ever be imposed in the state of Colorado?
I don't know. We have a governor in office right now who, understandably, we have an election going on today. He is term limited. We have a governor who has refused to make a decision as it relates to Nathan Dunlap. I explained that to the Ruzik family, and obviously that gives them some pause when I'm asking them to endure a 4 or 5 year delay prior to a trial, and many more years after that of appeals and post-conviction hearings before that sentence could ever possibly be imposed. So when the question was asked of me by their family, what is the realistic outcome of this particular case as it relates to the death penalty, the best I could tell them is I don't know.
You said that they requested that you not seek the death penalty. How did that affect your process?
I went through the same process I would have had their answer been different. I had in my mind from the day this occurred, The steps in the process that I felt like were due diligence in order to come to this decision. I don't think any elected district attorney ever wants to have to make a decision about whether or not to seek the death penalty as it relates to an individual. But when I have a family who has been so incredibly supportive and so incredibly firm in their belief that the death penalty not be sought, I don't know how I would have said to them, I'm going to do it anyway.
How early into the process was that decision made?
The decision was made.
See, this is what I told you. He secretly doesn't even care about the family. You know, he puts them forward just to cover his own butt because he has no evidence to go for the death penalty.
About 4 days ago.
How was the family when? How did the family react when about this decision?
I think there were a lot of emotions that went through their mind. And again, they're going to throw something at me if I say something inappropriate. I think that there was a combination of relief, extraordinary sadness that we ever had to have that conversation in the first place. And I can only say that I hope there is a sense of closure. I know that that will never be fully realized because obviously the tragedy that sits before us today is the loss of 4 beautiful lives. And no matter what happens today, no matter what happens at a sentencing hearing down the road, we can't get them back.
I think so.
Sandy said it very, very poignantly to me. She said, he made the choice to take those lives. I do not want to be in a position of making the choice to take his. And so that's about as firmly as she could have said it to me. And that was very compelling to all of us as we were talking about how to proceed on this case.
Chris Watts first said Shanann actually killed the 2 little girls. What was his story when he changed his mind? And were they killed before Shanann got home?
That's an interesting question from the reporter lady. She's asking what made him change his mind to say, you know, he killed all of them. What was his story?
Carol, I don't know the answer to that question. We talked a lot about.
Of course you don't, because he did never say anything.
We would require him to come forward and give us what we believe to be a complete, accurate, and truthful statement. I think all of those who were involved never truly believed that he would give us an accurate statement.
Blah, blah.
What I can tell you most affirmatively today by what happened in the courtroom is the spotlight that he tried to shine on Shanann falsely, incorrectly, and frankly, a flat out lie has been corrected. The spotlight shines directly where it belongs, on him.
What's the status of the autopsy?
Those are still sealed at this point. I need to have a conversation with the coroner's office, with Shanann's family, and the county attorney representing the coroner's office about at what point in time those will become a public record. We are not assuming that the sentencing hearing goes the way we believe that it will and goes forward. We will not be asking those be kept sealed any longer after the sentencing hearing.
When did discussions with the defense begin about the plea deal?
Several weeks ago. I can't tell you the exact date, but it's been several weeks in the making. We had very preliminary discussions prior to visiting the Rusiks in North Carolina.
Was it just a matter of the death penalty to get a guilty plea?
You'd have to ask them. All I can tell you is the discussions that we had with them, and frankly, the discussions that Mr. Wren and I had with the Rusik family made it very clear that there was going to be no further concession. I didn't feel like this was a case where it was appropriate to agree to dismiss some counts in exchange for a plea of guilty to others, because we charged him with what we truly believed he had done at the time we filed that complaint. And I was not willing to entertain any further concessions above and beyond removing the death penalty from consideration.
During your investigation, did you ever get a motive from Chris Watts?
Ask me again in 2.5 weeks or the day after the day of sentencing. I'll be happy to answer that question. At this point, that's getting a little bit too far into the investigation, at least as we sit right now. We believe that we have a partial motive. I'm not the motive, but I'll be happy to comment on that following the sentencing hearing.
Will Christopher Watts be solitary?
You know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, whether or not he's in solitary.
He says more times I don't know the answer to that than he ever answers anything.
Where he serves his time, whether it be in what DOC facility in the state of Colorado, or if he's one who's transferred to another state, is left to the discretion of the executive director of the Department of Corrections.
There you go. So they knew already that he will be going to be transferred, right? Why would they? And I said that so many times previously, and I say it again. Think, you guys, why would they offer him a different prison? What did he do in exchange? Why would they offer him safety other than being in Colorado? Rourke wanted to go for the death penalty, right? He says, the family didn't want me to do it, so I didn't. Well, in his head, knowing that he has no chance going for the death penalty anyway. So he offers him some sort of safety in a different prison. Why would you offer some sort of safety in a different prison? You did not offer that to anyone on death row or to any other murderer. Why did they offer this to Chris? What did he give in exchange?
Cooperation.
Cooperation, exactly, and signing that thing.
Can you talk about the importance of that?
Sure.
For yourself, the law enforcement, and for
Absolutely. I think that of the plea of guilty to each of those counts, naming those individual victims, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, was an important consideration, but also he deserves a life sentence for each and every act on top of one another. In practicality, it doesn't make a difference in terms of how long he's ultimately going to serve. But what he needs to understand is he will be serving 3 consecutive life sentences plus a sentence for Nico Watts because of the acts that he committed against all 4 of them. It was important that each of those beautiful human beings be reflected in the ultimate sentence that will be imposed.
Does he remain in solitary confinement in the jail?
I don't know what the status of him being held in the jail is. I would expect, I'm speculating or surmising that that's probably something the sheriff would look into or will do pending sentencing, but I don't know where he sits today.
what was the security importance of the garment that he was brought in?
I don't know. I presume that it was for his own protection. From whom, I don't know. I think that that's a standard safety measure that the sheriff will take in very high-profile cases. I appreciate the sheriff's diligence in protecting him as well as everybody else who's in the courtroom.
Have you ever had a case like this resolved so soon into the investigation?
No.
Have you ever had a case like this?
No.
Smirking.
The overwhelming amount of evidence in some ways that you think that you had in this case?
I don't know the reason why they approached us initially. I don't know what their thought process was in terms of making this offer to us that was at least compelling enough that we wanted to get on a plane and fly.
I can tell you what their motivation was for offering that agreement. Just think his defense is now working the DA, right? So enough said.
And see the Russo family in person. This was not a conversation we were going to have over the telephone or over Skype. But what caused them to come to us in the first place, I don't know. I don't know what it was that pushed them over the tipping point, so to speak.
Did they come with a plea agreement that was similar to what was talked about today?
Initially, no.
Okay.
Recently, yes.
Okay.
As of a couple of days ago, yes.
2 separate.
As Don stated to me before that, he believes that they've been working together on that plea. Because why would a defense attorney agree to evidence being destroyed? That makes no sense.
Yes.
Offers?
Yes.
Okay.
How does this make you feel?
Sick. Saddened. As Director Camper said, no one wins today. I never wanted to have to stand up and have a press conference like this. I'm saddened that I had to meet the Russo family under these circumstances. It's been a pleasure working with them and meeting them and knowing them. But as the director said, there is no cause for celebration today.
Will the Russos be making victim impact statements at sentencing?
I believe so. That's a conversation that we started when they flew in yesterday, and I'm going to give them some time to.
Okay, impact statements not relevant. So, as you can see, this adds up like almost a little story, right? We started off with the media is free to report on untrue things right after Chris was arrested. You know, Ronnie seeing on TV that his son confessed to killing all three, even though he just heard from himself a different story. Then the family calling people saying, you're going to hear a different story. He confessed to knowing where they were. And Rourke always with his death penalty, death penalty, death penalty. Then at the sentencing hearing, the judge asks, present your evidence. What evidence did he present? Nothing other than his fabrication of how it could have happened. After that, he makes the statement in front of media saying, we still have to sort things out, and the judge doesn't know this and the judge doesn't know that. So it's still kind of like under investigation, right? So the next thing he says, he took them out like trash. There's a video, not true either. So then to certain questions, and in my opinion, they ask really good questions, he has no answer to, or he says, I don't know. So this basically tells you that he didn't know anything, and this agreement was made because they had bombshell information and nothing else. So, in my opinion, Rourke knew that. He had the two agreements signed with the other two people that were involved. So, the majority of the public of Colorado was satisfied in their mind, or in their opinion, they had the right man. They did do everything to keep up with that over the weekend, saying he confessed to killing them all. And this is what the general public is seeing on TV, right? They don't know all these things. No body cam was released at this time. So totally misleading and fabricated without anything. I believe that they did pressure him with the death penalty, and I also do believe that Chris was really scared. And I will never forget, and I always repeat that, I know, but I will never forget what she said in her interview. She said, if you did something to your family, you're gonna destroy my life. What she actually could have said in my mind was, if this comes out, you're gonna destroy my life. Why else would she be there after sentencing, smirking at him? Chris telling his parents, I wanted to go back. I wanted to make that right. And my defense attorney said to me, it's too late. So what was signed? They ratted him out big time. I'm not saying I agree or condone what went on or want to get him out of prison. I just want him to finally speak up, give his family some peace of mind. That's what we want to do, right? And of course, to try and get the others jailed, if that makes sense. All right. This is the last one. This is an interview that was basically only made with one single camera team. Never saw that before, and I found this is quite interesting. So I'm going to show that to you anyways. So right after he spoke to the media, after the sentencing, in the video we just saw, he gives another little interview. And this is very rare, actually. I'm going to show you. And this is where he speaks in detail about.
I've learned something too. Sorry.
No problem.
Yes, I've learned. I thought I know almost everything. But I've learned today that the best place to seal a deal, a plea deal, is not the district attorney's office. It is a kitchen.
It is a kitchen?
Right.
What do you mean a kitchen?
Didn't he say that he listened to
Oh,
what
he was in the Russek's family's, sitting in the Russek's family's kitchen.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So true. All right, let's listen to this.
First, thanks for doing this.
Sure.
Speaking with us, we appreciate it.
You bet.
First, I just want to talk about the speed of this case. You know, these murders happened just 3 months ago in August.
Right, Teacup? That's exactly the same thing I said when I first saw that little interview. That look, his eyes, it's like, ugh.
Is now already wrapped up with the plea and the sentencing today. How unusual is it to have such a high-profile case wrap up so quickly?
Oh, I think it's very unusual. I can't really speak to the speed from the defense side with their.
No, it's not unusual because 90% of the cases in Colorado go down as solved with plea agreements.
The thought process was, I think that once we had an arrangement or an agreement where the death penalty was taken off the table, I think that makes it all the more likely that it is going to resolve that quickly. But I talked to Shanann's family after this today, and I said, you know, I hope this gives a little bit of closure. It was fast, but anything we can do to try to get them on the road to healing is important. And so from that perspective, I appreciate the fact that it got done this quickly.
So
I'm going to cover your tie. Oh, sure. No worries. Cool. Okay.
that cord won't shut at all.
No, I got it from there.
I don't know this for a fact, but there's probably more people than you've seen in a courtroom in Weld County before in terms of how many people were out in the hallways and in the overflow room and so many emotions in that courtroom. What was it like to just be a part of that today, and how much stock goes into making sure those emotions don't go overboard with
Sure.
the courtroom?
We had a lot of conversations about the different things that could go wrong, the different obstacles. It went exceptionally smoothly. I think that the overflow courtroom and the number of people that were here today demonstrates the importance that this case had to this community. From the very beginning, on August 13th, this has been a case that has absolutely rocked not just Frederick, but the surrounding towns, the entire community. And I think we saw that in the courtroom today.
Judge Kopkow called Watt's actions in the courtroom today the most inhumane he had seen in 17 years as a judge. In this case, are these actions the most inhumane you've seen as a prosecutor?
I've been a prosecutor for 21 years, and I couldn't possibly imagine anything worse than what we saw in this. Not just the fact that this man annihilated his family, but to have the utter disrespect for their remains by dumping them in oil tanks and burying them out in eastern Colorado really is something that shocked the conscience of all of us.
This case, Chris Watts will spend the rest of his life in prison, but he could have faced the death penalty here. If his family had wanted you to pursue the death penalty, would you have?
Death penalty, his favorite topic.
That's a tough question. They were so adamant that they did not want me to seek the death penalty that that really drove our discussions and our thought processes from the very beginning. Had it been different, had they come to me and said, absolutely, we want you to seek the death penalty, no ifs, ands, or buts, I probably would have. I put more stock in the desires, the beliefs, the family views on what we do in a case like this than anything else. I met with all our law enforcement partners. I met with the defense. I met with the sheriff's office. I met with supervisors in my office. But I met with her family first because I knew that every meeting that I would go to would ask me, well, what does the victim's family want? And that's really what drove our decision.
As recently as last year, though, I know Governor Hickenlooper indicated he was open to commuting the death sentence of Nathan Dunlap, who shot and killed the 4 employees at the Chuck E. Cheese. in Aurora, and Governor-elect Polis has said that he would vote for a bill, sign a bill to abolish the death penalty in Colorado. Would that have weighed in, though? You kind of referred to that before, to your decision.
Oh, sure. It absolutely did weigh into our decision because we had to have a conversation with Shanann's family about the realities that we could go out and seek the death penalty, get the death penalty, and at some point have a governor or a legislature who abolished the death penalty, and it all would be for naught. We knew that this was a contentious election year here in Colorado. No one knew.
He's contradicting himself. He previously states over and over and over again that it was the Rusek family's wishes that they don't seek the death penalty, right? And now all of a sudden he considers that there's a bill to abolish the death penalty, and he knows that's already in place. So which one is it?
For certain what the outcome was going to be, and I had to talk with her family about that as well. So that certainly played a role in some of the decision making as well.
In your career, have you ever encouraged a family to seek the death penalty?
No, I don't think that's my role to encourage them ever. I think that is extremely personal to each family, and I honestly want them to tell me exactly what they want. I don't want to persuade them one way or another.
Because this case brings up the whole question about the death penalty. I mean, as a prosecutor, would you support the state abolishing it?
No, I'm a strong supporter of the death penalty. Chris Watts was certainly eligible for the death penalty. I think the death penalty is on the books currently for defendants just like him. At the same time, I recognize the realities. Nathan Dunlap, as you talked about, is still alive. He was convicted more than 20 years ago. When I have a mom who is sitting across the table from me in her kitchen saying, please don't do this, I can't be a part of the criminal justice system for the next 20 years. Awfully tough for me to say. I understand your feelings, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Are you a father?
I am a father.
How did this case impact you personally as a father?
Terribly. We have a little girl at home. She's 3 years old and she has blonde hair, just like the victims in this case. And so I would come home after working on this case all day, and we'd see her bouncing around in the living room, and my thoughts immediately went to Bella and Celeste. Even beyond that, I can't fathom what went through a man's mind when he is not just killing his wife, but killing his children. Senseless doesn't even begin to describe what he did. It's just sickening.
Did any part of you think that Chris Watts would speak at today's sentencing and explain why he did what he did?
I didn't think he would. I called him out. I did that intentionally as I was preparing my remarks. I wanted to see if I could get him tell the truth, give the family, not just Shanann's family, give his own family some answer to the question of why. But at the same time, I knew that even if he did that, it would ring so incredibly hollow. There's no explanation for what he did that can satisfy that desire to know why in anyone.
And his family, his parents were asking him to do that. Do you think at some point he will?
No, I don't. I think he heard those.
There you have your answers. You know, how can he be so sure that Chris is not telling his parents what actually happened? You know, he's almost like he's smirking. No, he won't. He's very, very
part
sure.
of the deal.
Exactly. He won't. You don't know these people.
From me, from his family, I don't think, based on what I know and what we've seen in the investigation, that he will ever bring himself to tell us what happened.
I know this is hypothetical, but had Chris Watts not confessed in this case, how tight was this case? I mean, was there a lot of evidence out there? Because I know that as far as the murders.
Also, keep in mind, he never actually confessed. Right? He never actually, I mean, he took the plea agreement, but he never actually confessed at this time.
There wasn't a lot.
There was a lot of circumstantial evidence that really, I think, was strong evidence. When law enforcement shows up.
Circumstantial evidence is never strong evidence.
Right at the outset, based on this call from her friend Nicole, saying, I need you to come check on the welfare of Shanann. When her car is there, her purse is there, her cell phone is there, the house is locked up from the inside in a way that no one could lock a door and run out a garage door, for example. The key code on the garage door didn't work. There was no way for a stranger to get in there.
Back door, windows. Don't say no way, because where's a will, there's a way.
Them or anything else signal to us that it probably at that early stage probably was a family member, probably was the defendant. But then you start to really look at the manner in which they were killed, where their bodies were dumped, his familiarity with that area. And I think there were a lot of pieces that could be put together even without him talking, but it certainly made it a much stronger case because he ultimately did give us at least a version of what he wanted us to believe, even though we know all of it wasn't the truth.
Do you think he's a psychopath?
I want to hear that version. Did you guys ever heard that version of Chris telling the prosecution about what he did? We never heard that version. Ever. So the public is still to believe that he confessed to killing Shanann and Shanann killed the girls. So he took the plea, but they talked about something they don't want to make public. So
maybe he was talking about, maybe he was preparing the Wisconsin interview.
yeah, absolutely. Preparing the Wisconsin interview, which I believe that was planned. I believe that Wisconsin interview was planned. So if he said something to Rourke and the defense, or the DA, he gave them a version of what he thinks they gonna believe. Where is that version? Why was that never made public? We heard a hearing. He was, his first court appearance, his second one, and so on and so on. Rourke or nobody ever said or reported in a written statement, this is the confession or the version of what happened. We never saw such a document because I don't believe that even exists. Because do you guys really think if there was some sort of version he gave to them, he wouldn't have made that public as evidence after the fact? Of course they would have. So why is that statement not available? I'm going to request that. I'm going to try and request that. I want to know what he told Rourke. I probably won't get it, as so many things we requested during the month, but I'm going to try, and I'll let you know. Where is that statement? Where is it? I mean, if that was some sort of true, why not making it public? It would have helped them to convince the judge, right? And based on that, they could have said, based on what he told us, his version, what he thinks is, makes us believe that he did this or is true. Why wasn't that confession or that statement read out publicly to back that version up? Good night, all. That was straight after the sentencing hearing, after he appeared in front of the media.
Or sociopath, and I don't know if he was actually examined and diagnosed at any point.
If he was, I don't know. Obviously, I don't have the ability to ask for that.
I don't know are his favorite words.
From a clinical standpoint, I don't know. There is certainly something wrong with a guy who annihilates his family for a new love affair. There's something wrong with him. Again, from a clinical or insanity standpoint, certainly not. There were no signs of that at all.
So it was for NK then? The only motive they bring forward is NK. He did that because he wanted to be with her. He did that because of her.
But how do you do this?
I mean, you've been a part of several big cases, but is this one at the top of your list in terms of what you'll remember?
I will never forget this case. This is at the top of the list of horrifying things that we have seen people do to each other.
wonder if you can wait, stay here for a minute.
Sure.
Stay here for a minute and then the interview cuts off. So as you can see, some more lies. Now we found out live. I gotta admit, I did not watch that little interview in its entirety, but now we know that, and you were live with me when we found out that there was a statement made by Chris Watts that was never made public ever. So you heard it with your own ears. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. All right. What I'm gonna do next is after, when was it? I believe that was, hold on. I uploaded that video and I can't remember what date it was. It was sometime after the sentencing. And I uploaded that little video on its own on my channel, so you can go back. This is where Rourke basically says or admits that they only had a little theory, and I'm going to share that with you. And I hope I hope we could show you guys that there was some sort of agenda behind everything Rourke ever said. I called it Rourke, not so sure after all. All we had was a theory. Oops. Here, that's it. Chris Watts, Rourke, not so sure after all. All we had was a theory. Interview after the sentencing.
I'm at home where you're not really there as they're thinking about this case. Now, on the confession, as you talked, really interesting, the district attorney told us is that they considered making a part of the plea agreement that Christopher Watts would have to confess more about what happened that night. The district attorney told us that Shanann's family didn't think he would take that deal.
What?
Echo.
Echo? Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll mute myself.
Or you're not really there as they're thinking about this case. Now, on the confession, as you talked about, something really interesting the district attorney told us is that they considered making a part of the plea agreement that Christopher Watts would have to confess more about what happened that night. The district attorney told us that Shanann's family didn't think he would take that deal. We also learned much more about what prosecutors believe happened that night. You answered a lot of questions today, but we still don't know the question of why. How did this happen? How do you answer that question when you're the person who knows more than anybody?
I don't think I can answer that question. And that's what I really wanted to emphasize to Judge Kopkow. The inexplicable nature of what he did is you can't understand it. I didn't see a shred of remorse today. I didn't when he pled guilty on November 6th. I never did during the course of any of this investigation, any of the interviews with him. I think that he shed a tear for himself. I think he thought he was going to get away with it.
Was justice served here today?
I think justice was served in the best way we can in Colorado right now.
I think that justice was served in the best way we can right now here in Colorado. What does that statement tell you? Right? If they were under the impression that they had the right man and nobody else was involved in this crime, why wouldn't he say, yes, I'm absolutely satisfied, we have the right man, and justice was served. The families can start to heal because we proved without a reasonable doubt that he did this. So the plea was taken because we have the right man. Why would he say we served or we did in the most possible way we have, like here in Colorado?
Because a plea deal will have always the same answer.
Right. This makes absolutely zero sense. Exactly, none of your business, because it's all a big fat lie. You know, he would have said, of course, we're satisfied with the outcome. We have the right person. No, he doesn't say that.
You mentioned in court that Shanann didn't have any defensive wounds. What does that mean?
What was odd or striking to me was I think if somebody came up and put their hands around somebody's neck, the first thing a victim's going to do is
Tanya, echo.
Again? Okay, I'll mute myself.
grab onto the hands or the arms and try to pull them away, or scrape or claw or bite or whatever, to try and get that person's hands off of their throat. There wasn't anything like that in Shanann. And so that obviously caused us to think, was she sleeping? His statement to investigators was, they were very clearly, obviously dead, so I decided to dispose of their bodies. You didn't call 911. You didn't try CPR. You didn't even check on them to see if they were breathing. When you hear that, you're thinking, this just doesn't add up.
Now, interestingly enough, the district attorney says that his statement was probably the strongest piece of evidence that they had, because they said that what his story was, that Shanann killed the girls and then he killed his wife in a rage, there was absolutely no evidence of that.
Okay, again, his statement was the strongest piece of evidence they had. Why didn't they bring it forward when they had that hearing? Why? The judge asked him, bring your evidence forward. And what is he talking about? Bull crap. Right? Why is he not saying, Judge Kopkow, he said this to us? Or this and that. He told us this and that. We don't hear a whole statement. If we had that statement, we might think a little different about this case. You know, even though we know he lies a lot or he doesn't remember things or whatnot, right? But if we heard his version, and another thing, if he gave a statement with what they were satisfied with to prove as the strongest evidence that he did this all by himself, why did they feel the need to go back to Wisconsin to interview him again? If he already told them. What was the need for that?
There was no evidence of a big fight. There was no evidence of a struggle. Nothing to match up what his story was that he originally told police. For now, we're live in Greeley. I'm Jennifer Kovaleski.
No evidence. And his statement was the strongest evidence. So they led us to believe, up until the Wisconsin interview, that they never heard anything of him, that he never said anything, never done anything. And now he tells us that there was a statement. Why not publicize the statement? It's idiotic. It's unreal. Just freaking unreal. Oh, what do you guys think? Or what do you think, Dawn? What was the need to go back to Wisconsin if they had such a massive statement that was the biggest evidence ever?
They wanted to hear him say that he killed everybody.
This is another, in my opinion, for me personally, this is another indicator that that Wisconsin interview was rehearsed. Or I wouldn't say rehearsed, but planned. Right? In my opinion, I think some people got probably too close, or when that shadow stuff came out, and they went back saying, you got to give them something. Just something. Give them something. Because I believe that they cannot, even though they are law enforcement, all right, but I don't believe that they can just walk into prison as they made it out to do that, right? They just cannot walk into prison saying, I want to speak to Chris Watts right now, and they get him. No, this is not how it works. This is not how it works. I never heard that before. Ever.
But in the plea deal affidavit, does he says what says that he killed everybody?
In the affidavit?
Yes.
Hold on, let me look if I just give me 1 second. I'll look if I find it in my files. The one that was released on that Monday. It says August the 16th, 2018 at 1:50 a.m. Being duly sworn upon oath says that there is probable cause for the warrantless arrest of the above named defendant for the charges stated above, and that the following facts are true and correct to the best of his/her knowledge, information, and belief, and support the arrest of this defendant. So, on the 13th, at Saratoga Trail, town of Frederick, the suspect was arrested. Oh, I should share my friggin' screen, shouldn't I? I'm reading there all for myself. Yeah, just if I just go really quick through it, but if you want to read it for yourself, just put in affidavit Chris Watts on Google and it will come up. Where is it? My Google. Here. I hope you guys can see it. It's really bad. It went through a fax machine or something. I don't know. So they say that's a true statement, right? So August the 16th at 1:50 a.m. He was arrested on the 15th late. So approximately, here it says the suspect was arrested at 11:02. So this statement, this arrest affidavit was from 2-3 hours later on August the 13th.
This is for his arrest, not for the plea deal.
Oh, you want the plea one?
Yes.
Hold on. Okay. Wrong one. I don't think I have it. I have it somewhere, but maybe here. Give me 1 second.
Because if the plea deal is based on Shanann killing the girls and then Chris killing Shanann scenario, then we're talking about a big joke.
No, that wasn't based on that story. Actually, the arrest affidavit didn't even state that he made a statement. I don't think. No, I can't find it right now, Dawn. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be interesting to know. Maybe I can pull it up sometime else. Some other time. so many videos passed around. That's true. I don't believe that one bit. Not one bit. But yeah, like I said, that's my personal opinion. All right, you guys, I hope that this little live stream of 3 hours showed you that there was a certain story behind all these developing news and all these little lies. And, you know, he contradicts himself so much. He doesn't give any straight answers. His favorite words are, I don't know. And I hope I could show you, was able to show you how this all was unfolding concerning the DA. Then another thing is that his defense offered their plea. And like I said before, Don thinks that they did this together. So there was something in for everyone. And it all makes sense. Yeah, the 3 hours went by fast. That's so true. If if we would have known back then what we know now about the agreements they both signed, it all falls into place, in my opinion, slowly. So now you listen to interviews more carefully. You listen to interviews differently. At least I do. I don't know how about you guys, but I do certainly see everything with a set of different, fresh eyes, to be honest. And then once you know that stuff, it all makes sense all of a sudden. Everything falls into place. All right. I have said in the start that I'm having a little surprise for you. Cindy asked me, what did she ask me? Cindy asked me if you guys could forward some questions to her. And she will go through them and answer your questions you might have. And this is a one-time opportunity, right? So if you have any questions for Cindy, then put them in chat. I give you like 5 minutes time. Send me an email or put your questions in the comments, and we'll be doing a Cindy answers your questions. She was too, she didn't know any other way to answer questions people might have. She just, I want to give her the opportunity to be heard and to have her say in this. And I thought it's a great idea if you guys have the opportunity to ask whatever you want to ask. I mean, it's all up to her what question she wants to answer. But yeah, she definitely offers, so she can clear things up a little bit on her side. And I think that's absolutely great and very kind of her. So this was the little surprise I had to offer you. Yeah, it's Cindy Watts. In case Crystal, it's Mrs. Watts. And also for Ronnie, maybe, put some either in chat or send me an email or put it in the comments if you have any question. I think it's better if you send me an email so I can forward it straight to her. And next time, I'm going to read out all her answers. You want to see again that little video about the Weld County evidence collectors? Here it is. I want to hear Chris Watts' statement he gave to the DA.
There is no such statement.
I'm going to draft an email, send all the links saying DA Rourke said there was a statement made by Chris Watts that led them to believe, he did all this. And I want to hear that statement either in audio or in written form. And, what can they do? I can request. All they can do is telling me to F off like they did before, or this is not in the public's interest. This is the standard answer I get. So, who is rude? Nobody's rude in here, not that I see. I won't be going to the USA, Charlie. I can tell you that much. Not this year. Too much happened in my private life, and I'm just not doing it this year. But I certainly let you know if I do come. Not the exact date, but I will. Yeah, with that being said, yeah, I think thank you, Adrian, for putting my email address in. I can pin it also in the comments because now I'm having a headache listening to friggin' Rourke for 3 hours. But I really truly hope that this, clears up some questions and might connect some dots for all those who did not believe NK's statement. I don't believe her statement either. But at least, like I said before, that places her on scene. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. Now for us, it's just to find out, something. Like, let's find out something. Tumbleweed, I cannot even answer your question, and I'm not doing a Rourke on you. I just simply don't know. Maybe people in chat can answer that question, but I don't know. Probably not, because everybody was agreeing on everything, so probably not, but I do not know. Alrighty. Okay, with that being said, this is gonna be my last big, massive, yes, Charlie. This is what the evidence suggests, or the data suggests. He did not come home after the birthday party.
May I comment on something, please?
Absolutely, go ahead.
During this live stream, Tanya put on the screen some opinions
Bad
about.
audio.
During the live stream, Tanya put on the screen some comments saying that my gut is telling me that Chris Watts didn't do it. I don't see him do it. Maybe you didn't have the opportunity to read my comment on the last stream. Please believe me when I say that murderers are not like us, normal people. I've seen with my own eyes during interviews, interrogations. When at the beginning of the interrogation, they looked like Snow White. They were the most pacifist and law-abiding citizens. And after a few hours, 3 or 4 hours of interrogation, they confessed to unbelievable things like, okay, I killed my daughter. I had to chop her into small pieces because whatever, and so on. Your gut cannot tell you how a murderer is, because he is totally different from you.
Yeah.
It is something that your mind cannot comprehend. I had to get used with that too. But they are totally different. So
you never know what's going on behind closed doors, or you never know what's really going on in somebody's head, right? Or as Chris Watts said, you don't know someone until you know someone, right?
everybody's putting a mask each day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite common these days that people pretend to be something or someone they're not, especially on the internet. It's like quite common, people seek for attention, people seek for, just to be part of a community or of a certain family or whatnot. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. And I think social media is the devil in itself, because it tears apart families. And yeah, it's just so much easier for criminals and in general people to pretend, oh, I'm this, I'm that, because you don't know, these people are all strangers, really. So it makes it hard to separate fact from fiction if it comes to people. It's sad, but it's very, very true.
Talking
All right,
about
you
the
guys.
devil.
What?
Talking about the devil, there is a gesture that Chris Watts is doing that annoys me greatly. You know that gesture with the thumbs and the pinky upwards. It is mostly used by rockers, rock fans. That sign you see him doing in
Oh yeah.
some
Yeah.
videos on Facebook. That sign, maybe you don't know, it is the devil's horns.
It is, yeah. It is.
Okay.
But see, we lost, we all lost kind of the connection to what things really mean, because everybody does it,
I don't.
like the sign of the, I'm not going to do it, but the sign of the devil's horns. It's just modern, it's in fashion, so everybody is doing it. I'll do it, not knowing what it actually means. It's sad, very sad. But yeah. Alrighty, you guys, this will be my last, as I attempted to say like 6 times already, this will be my last big 3-hour live stream on the Watts case. I'll be traveling next week, and I'm so looking forward to take a little, well, not really a Watts break. I'm gonna be still reporting on the case, but I'm also really looking forward to show you some haunted places, some places in the UK where horrific crimes took place. And I'm gonna be vlogging. I never vlogged in my life. Well, I did once when I made this follow me around in North Carolina video. So this is gonna be some new experience for me, but I'm gonna take you guys everywhere. I won't be live probably on the weekend. I'm working long shifts next week, and I'll be traveling all weekend. But I try to squeeze some little live stream in and let you know if my plane arrived all right and all that. So yeah, you're definitely gonna hear from me. I'm not disappearing anywhere. So with that being said, have a great weekend. I know it's hot everywhere. It's almost unbearable here, but we have fans, we have ACs, so we're gonna live, right? So hug your loved ones, stay out of drama, stay safe, and most importantly, stay healthy. And I see you guys very, very, very soon. Good night.
That-